works.
We're live.
All right, guys, we're live. Welcome to the show tonight, Ben Dyke Show. I got special guest Gary from Paramount Tactical. We've got something up here that Gary has posted on his X account. I'm going to make sure that we put Gary's information there in the stream, in the chat. If you've got any questions, comments, or concerns during the show for Gary and you want to make sure that you get those in, make sure you put it with a super chat. Members, I always try to get those comments first. But Gary, first and foremost, a little bit of your background. We were talking a little bit before the show. You're Army veteran, Green Beret, now have a business teaching shooting, teaching combat, teaching self-defense. So, and I said, how did you fall into being a punching bag for the conspiratards? Because it seems like that's what you do on a daily basis is deliver counter punches to the conspiracies. And I don't know how. I used to box, so that's the way I look at things.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's take a step back and how I got into this, right? So
sure.
First of all, I've had a YouTube channel for many years, and which was primarily firearms, but I always talked politics. And every Wednesday, just about every Wednesday for years and years, we'd always do a live stream and, talk about guns, gear, politics, current events, all those things. And I've always been a diehard conservative, kind of bordering. I like to say bordering on libertarian, but then libertarian. Some libertarians are out there, so I don't know if I want to associate myself. But then again, there's some conservatives I don't want to associate myself with, and I don't think they align with my beliefs. With that being said, that's how that worked. And so, I had this YouTube channel, gun tubing, and really the first time that I dipped my toe into like current events similar to the Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk, assassination was Butler. So Butler was interesting because, number one, we had the president, it was the attempted assassination with Thomas Crooks. And the other part of that is when I got out of the military, I took a job with Department of State Diplomatic Security as a special tactics instructor. So I was teaching tactics, room clearing, defensive tactics, other security, close protection, PSD work, all of those things. And one of the guys that worked, and later on I became a unit chief for a training program. And one of the guys that worked for me used to be a former Secret Service sniper. And so I remember we were on the range. We were actually teaching a course the day. And by the way, I went full-time and on Paramount since 2023. And I remember, we were actually on the range the day that Trump, the attempted assassination. And on the way home, a client called me and said, Gary, you should cover this. So I came home. I immediately started a live stream. We're trying to figure out what's going on. You know how everything is the first couple minutes, hours, even a couple days during those events. And so, there was a lot of people pointing out already online, a lot of discrepancies. And, it just made sense. I reached out to my friend that was a former Secret Service counter sniper team member. And I was like, hey, man, I'd love to get you in here and let's just do an interview and talk about what happened, what should have happened, what you would expect. And there again, 80% of the details that we kind of know now, we didn't know then, at least. And so right. I brought him in, we sat down, and he's still doing some other work. And so he didn't want to be on camera. So, I just started going through and outlining, what happened, what should have happened. And we did an interview, and he talked about one of the big things that he talked about that I think is really important for people to understand, if going back to Butler, was the security detail Trump had and the security detail Trump should have had. And, him being a former president and being as a controversial of a figure as Donald Trump was, what he said was, the security assessment should have dictated that he had essentially a full presidential detail. And we know he never had that. They even beefed up his detail after the assassination attempt, but it still wasn't quite what it should be. And Butler was actually the first time that he had a counter sniper team coverage. Now, one of the things that my friend laid out was like, hey, look, when you have a counter sniper team, the other thing that goes hand in hand with it is a counter sniper reaction team. And what those guys are guys on the ground. And basically the counter snipers have direct comms with these guys. And like, if they see something weird, And the counter sniper reaction team is also usually tied at the hip with local law enforcement so that they can identify things and talk directly. So long story short, one of the big things that we identified right away was he didn't have the security coverage. And I had my own conspiracy theories with all this, but one of the things I think we can confirm as far as a legitimate, proven conspiracy theory is the fact that there was at least a conspiracy by the Biden administration not to provide Trump the security assets that he should have had. And I think combined with the rhetoric that the Democrats were using at the time, I think at a minimum, they were at least hoping that somebody would, they provided the opportunity. It was kind of a let it happen operation that was going on continuously. And I do think that they were essentially hoping. Now, if there was more coordination than that, I don't know. We don't know. There's obviously a lot of interesting and a lot of facts that we still don't know about Thomas Crooks. So anyways, I played in that game for a little bit, and I actually went out to Butler. I did the same thing that I did with the Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk UVU case, and that is I actually went to Butler. I got a 3D drone survey because one of the first things that I noticed in that case is people were coming up with all kinds of crazy conspiracies. And I think if you're going to get to the truth, the first thing that you got to do is kind of weed out what isn't true, right? And so I found that going out there and getting a 3D drone survey that ultimately allowed me to create a 3D model would allow us to test all these different trajectories. Because I don't know if you remember at the time or if you were paying attention, Ben, but they were saying there was people in these certain trees that they were inside buildings, and they were shooting through unbroken windows. And so what that survey allowed me to do, and that 3D model allowed me to do, was actually kind of test trajectories. That drone survey was like, the accuracy is like plus or minus an inch. And so you can actually put yourself in the shooter's position. You can see the line of sight, or if there is one, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out of that. So I played that whole game for a little bit, and even then, all the conspiracies were just quite bonkers to me, and just didn't make sense. I mean, like some of those were just physically impossible given the trajectories. There was no line of sight. There was not even a parabolic arc that would allow a shooter, even if they were going to do some sort of crazy indirect fire from a tree over a building and into Trump's ear. And then on top of that, the trajectories that people were proposing didn't line up with the known trajectories of people hit in the direction of fire. I also interviewed multiple eyewitnesses for that, and tried to just get as much information and give it to the public as I possibly could. And then so Charlie Kirk, again, I was big into conservative politics, been a big fan of Charlie Kirk for a really long time, followed his career closely. Probably him and Tucker Carlson were the people that I regularly, listen to their podcasts, listen to their content, and followed them quite closely. So when Charlie Kirk was killed, it felt personal to me. And again, immediately we started seeing all these crazy conspiracies. And again, if you go back in time, you think about, there was the palm gun, there was camera gun, there was the camera gun that Andrew Faraci is holding. There was another camera gun on the other side that allegedly somebody was holding. And then people said that the camera behind Charlie was a camera gun. And then we also had people saying, the Bush shooter, tunnels underneath. And then we got to the exploding mic theory. Flying drones was a big one for a long time, that he was actually killed with a flying drone.
You've been in combat. You've been deployed in combat.
Yeah.
I did one little tour, and I was with the Brits, so we had beer, but I never saw a camera gun. I mean, I've been to the James Bond Museum in London, and I did see some camera guns there.
Yeah.
I also saw a submarine car, but I've never experienced a camera gun anywhere in my life, like, yet.
Yeah, me neither, man.
What is the most crazy version that you've heard? I thought the exploding mic, and I've got one of those Rode microphones.
Yeah.
I've not been brave enough to use it since since all this stuff come out, right? I went to DJI. I was like, road's going to take me out. What are your thoughts? What's the craziest one you've heard?
I think it's a toss up between the palm gun, because we see Rick Cutler clearly on video. There's clearly no recoil. There's clearly not even a muzzle protruding from his fingers. If you guys look at palm guns, they're actually pretty large. They're larger than you expect them to be. And then we also never saw any muzzle flash or anything like that. So between that and the mic, the exploding mic theory, I think the exploding mic theory is just idiotic. I mean, you have to believe that they are able to defy Newtonian physics for that to work. So those are the two dumbest ones, in my opinion.
Well, it's the Jews. The Jews. I mean, they can do anything, right? I mean, biblically, I support Israel.
Sure.
But I never gave as much thought to Israel until all of this stuff come out. I put a poll in the chat to start the show. Who's responsible for Charlie Kirk's death? 65% say Tyler Robinson, 27% Israel, 5% is like a little like unnoticed, what I would say, cult, Mormons, and then 3% is Egyptians. So I don't know, man. I'm just so down. And I feel like sometimes I'm arguing with people, like I'm defending I'm defending common sense, which
I'm with you.
It seems odd. Now you jumped into this and you're in the middle of this. You said tomorrow you're going on with the Seed Man. Is that right? Alex Jones?
Yeah.
I call him the Seed Man for 25. Back whenever he used to sell seeds, before Sandy Hook, whenever he got castrated by the Sandy Hook, he's a eunuch now, and I've called him the Seed Man for a long time. You're going on to the Seed Man show with another Green Beret. I hope you both wear your hats to talk about this, and the other guys, ballistics expert, all this other stuff as well. And can I bring up?
I would actually challenge that. I would actually challenge that statement, and we can talk about that in a moment.
I am a big fond of feces. I've got horses, and we use it for fertilizer. And I think feces and facetious is, all in the same. Let me pull up this X post. I saw this X post. You pointed it out to me, and I've been sitting here reading it. And like I said, I'm a dumb submarine guy. I was under the water for a long time, maybe too long, and that might be what's wrong with me. But I want to, if you don't mind, and Micro Wolf says a camera gun's a spy tool. They do exist. That's my conspiracy voice. There you go. So,
and look, I don't doubt that there are camera guns. We'll just say that, right? I don't doubt that there are surreptitious firearms, to say the least. What I'm saying is that we have so much clear footage of what took place that there's some things that you can just reasonably rule out. And the camera guns, given that there's footage of the camera, there's no sort of, muzzle flash, there's no sort of indicated recoil. And then on top of that, when you start looking at the energy that was dumped onto Charlie, things like the camera gun just fall apart, as well as things like the palm gun. But go ahead.
What about his own people, his own turning point people, his own wife, his own business partners? How did we get there? How did we get to that point? Because
we got there via Candace Owens. So I think Candace here's the thing, even to this day, she says that Tyler Robinson was potentially involved, even though she continues to say that he never was on campus. So why is there never been a deeper investigation into Tyler Robinson? The other thing that we know, that there were people that predicted Charlie Kirk's death online days prior to. And these all go back to trans Tifa types. So, trans activists, whatever you want to call them. Right, and then we go into, the Salt Lake City, I don't know, it's like the gay gun club, and then also the John Brown gun club. There are definitely ties into all of that. But again, she's never went there. And the only thing that I can reasonably conclude is that it's because that she doesn't want to take it there. I think you get into a dead end there. So therefore you can't have, 80 something episodes on Charlie Kirk's death if you continue to go down that route. But then on top of that, the other thing that you don't get to do is to be a vicious, malicious bitch and go after people that she wants to go after. And like, look, I'm with you, man. Like, I don't care. Like I have zero interest in a particular narrative or anything. And I went into this completely open to the idea that, the government was involved or whatever else. I still think the government was all involved in Thomas Crooks in one way or another.
I agree.
Complicit in some way. And that was the Biden administration, right? And I think they could have known, like, there's a whole lot of different paths that you can take there. Like, one of the things that I've talked about a lot on my channel is the fact that it is actually very easy to target people, psychologically profile people in mass online. And then you find the type of psychological profile that you need, that is extremely persuasive and suggestible. And then they can take that, they can plug a formula in and work these people to where they are radicalizing them, weaponizing them, and then directing them at a target. I think that is very potentially what happened to Thomas Crooks. And I think that the government could have been involved. The other option is those types of things are definitely happening, and they may have known, the Biden administration and our own intelligence community may have known that he was planning this operation and, let it happen. The other option is, there was people within the deep state that actually provided material support and helped plan it. So, going into the Charlie Kirk, I'm open to all this. I don't care. I didn't know really about TPUSA other than that it was Charlie Kirk's company and 501c3. I knew who his wife was, and I've seen her on video. Barely knew who Andrew Colvett and some of these other key players and Blake Neff were at the time. Couldn't care less. And if you showed me the evidence and still to this day, you showed me the evidence that says, these people are involved, I'm with it. But what we do have is we have just a copious amounts of evidence. And after I went to UVU, I retraced Tyler Robinson's steps. I talked to 4 people at the time that were eyewitnesses there while I was there. I've since talked to like 6 or 7 more. I think I have had like a total of 5 or 6 on the channel. You guys can go watch.
I've seen some of those. Yeah.
Some of those interviews. I've talked to Andrew Colvett. I've talked to Brian Harpole. I've talked to a couple of the other guys in the security team. And going into it completely objective, just asking questions, going to the location. And then, when they release the charging documents, it's like, we know this evidence exists, and there's nothing that's stronger or more compelling than what we have here. And it's, quite frankly, in my mind at this point, it's fairly open and shut. Now, again, tomorrow new evidence comes out. I'm going where the evidence is.
Do you want to talk about your post here? Because the hot item is this. I hate to use the JFK movie. We've got the magic bullet, but this is huge. You and I were talking before the show about this lady that works for the Daily Mail, Melissa Koenig, very anti-Trump, very, what I would say, socialist. She's promoting Zohran Mamdani on the Daily Mail. She started working there in 2021. It's just anti-Trump stuff. Her name is Melissa Koenig here. She's got a lot of followers on X, 448. And some of the stuff that she's posting here, she's sad that she can't drink Coke because they came out with a bottle named with Trump on there. But your breakdown on this ballistics, rather than disregard the Daily Mail, because if you're getting news from the Daily Mail, you're saving a birdcage somewhere from having something to shit on. What are your thoughts? I mean, you laid this out here, and I would say with your background, more about shooting ballistics than the average bear. And obviously with your job and all this other stuff. Go into that. This is interesting as hell.
I'll hit that, and then let's just talk about my experience in this. And so, number one, I was a sniper with the 101st with the initial push into Iraq. So I've been shooting long range, precision, operationally, professionally since 2003, 2004.
Okay.
And again, when I was at the 101st, I later went to special operations, like long range. I love pistol shooting. We teach tactical carbine, tactical medicine, but long range has always been my passion. And we continue to teach one of the best long range programs. I literally teach long range for a living. Right back there, you guys can see I got, I don't know, $30,000 worth of reloading equipment. We have our own line of precision custom rifles that we do, but that's primarily what my channel has always been, is teaching long range. So, you know, whether we're talking about internal terminal or external ballistics, those are the things that I've always focused on for forever. So understanding that, you know, what I wanted to do, and still to this day, you know, going back to, we didn't know what I will put out right away is like, what we see with Charlie Kirk is ballistically atypical for a 30-06. All right, we can put that on the table. Atypical. Is it impossible, like a lot of people claim? Absolutely not. Are there plenty of examples that I've come to learn even more of since all this happened as I started researching this? But you can look at Martin Luther King, who was shot with 30-06 from 65 yards away, almost exactly half the distance to Charlie Kirk. You can look at Chuck Ritter. Chuck Ritter's on Twitter right now. He's also a former Green Beret. I've talked to him personally many times. He was shot with 7.62 by 54. 7.62 by 54. He was shot from 25 yards away. And that is ballistically identical to 30-06. It's more powerful than 308, less powerful than 300 Win Mag. But he was shot 25 yards away. It went obliquely into his back right here, went between the ribs and hit him right in the spine from 25 yards away. And when it hit his spine, it deflected it straight downward. Not only did it not exit, he didn't die, and he's a badass that kept fighting. And the crazy part about this, and
that's the part I like. You like lit up when you said that he was a badass. Yeah.
I mean, it is. And the crazy part about this is they were in a firefight in Afghanistan, and his teammate had a camera, helmet cam. They got it on video, and they have his injuries documented. They have all of his injuries, just detailing the injuries on his medical reports. He's put all of that stuff on Twitter. And the crazy thing is like these people were saying, he mentioned it first. First, he just mentioned, he's like, well, you know, it can happen because I actually got shot with 7.62 by 54, 25 yards away. I didn't die.
Is that where the "but did you die" come from? Is he the originator of "but did you die"?
He should be, without a doubt.
He should copyright that. "But did you die"? Absolutely.
I agree. So, you know, people were calling him, like, they were saying he was lying. Well, then he posts a video, and they're saying, well, it didn't actually hit you. And then he posts, you know, his injuries. He got pictures of the injuries pre and post surgery. And it's all documented. Like, he also has, I think he got a silver star out of it. So he has a, you know, an award narrative that is, you know, backed up by witness testimony. And there's many more. There's many more times where these things are documented, and it's not as rare as people make it out to be. So one of the things that I wanted to do, and just going back, like, I don't know if it was a 30-06 originally, and we still don't know until we see a full ballistics report and they present the entire case in court. Like, there's so much information that we don't know. The problem is when there's information gaps and people just fill it with bullshit because they want to. I think that is not a logical, sensible, reasonable approach to any of this stuff. When you start determining the narrative and then try to find facts and evidence to support whatever you believe, you are going down the wrong road. You're going to come to bad conclusions. So going to this post, one of the things that I wanted to lay out is just facts. And these are facts. Now, people watching this now or in the future, you don't have to like these facts, but they're true. 30-06 ballistic facts. You cannot determine or predict any terminal ballistic variables, ammunition source, factory or hand loads, Ammunition type, low recoil, varmint, big game, or dozens of other commercial options. Ammunition conditions, old, new, exposed to elements or moisture. Projectile weight, 30-06 is available from 55 grain up to 220 grain plus. Projectile type, full metal jacket, soft point, ballistic tip, frangible, tumble upon impact, and dozens of more. Plenty of varmint rounds out there. And we can talk about the difference between varmint and frangible. There's essentially some semantical differences, maybe some technical differences. But there's dozens more commercial designs with vastly different terminal performance.
Okay.
We don't know the muzzle velocity, projectile stabilization. I am now of the, I believe what we're seeing is a projectile that is not stabilized, and we can talk about that. But projectile stabilization is determined by proper twist rate for the projectile weight, also affected by barrel defects, damage, or condition of the projectile itself. You must know all of these, or at least several of these variables, to make any valid ballistic prediction. That is an objective fact. Anyone claiming otherwise is wrong. No one in the public knows a single one of these details. This list does not include external variables that can further affect terminal ballistics. Until this information is available, anyone claiming what a round should or should not do is pure speculation. So they're just speculating. So the point here is there's a certain amount of variables that we would need to know to determine what is possible and what's not possible just through a common sense thought experiment. And we know none of those variables, not a single one of them. And, so those are just
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. We don't know any of those.
Yep.
I believe there's too many people online that think they have a right to know all of these things before the case goes to court. That's what I think. There's so many people. It's like, well, it's my damn right to know that. I demand to know this information. And I'm like, wait a second. Are you trying to sway the court case? Do you want this guy to get off? It's like everybody like, did Epstein kill himself? I don't care. He's dead. He was a piece of shit. I don't care. Like, I'm at that point. I don't want him having better health care than veterans that I know. I don't want Tyler Robinson to have better health care for the rest of his life.
I mean, on the Epstein thing, I don't necessarily think he killed himself. And I'm open to the idea that he's still alive, to be honest with you. I am. I'm fine with that. But just all you got to do is show me some evidence. And if we don't have that, let's just admit, like, let's say you believe 100% he's dead. Okay.
Sure.
Let's say that I believe 100% that he's alive. Let's just concede the fact that neither one of us can prove our case. Okay.
Yes. And we can still be friends. We can still be friends.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to. Yeah. We don't have. It's like, I play the guitar. I am friends with guys that play drums. I'm friends with the guy that play banjos. I'm not an all or nothing kind of guy. You know what I mean? Veterans come in my office that are Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. Yes, the Coast Guard's part of the military. Space Force. I still help them. The Air Force, that counts too. I don't care. I think we should be all on the same team. But it seems like this team, I think they're doing everything they can to get this dipshit off. And didn't his parents turn him in? I mean, didn't?
Yeah. So his parents not only turned him in, his parents, look, I don't know where people are going to be. I think in April or May, they're going to have they're actually even talking about, I pull it up. I think I posted it. I believe they're going to, regardless, what's going to happen for sure is that the prosecution is calling his parents to the stand, both of them.
Oh.
And what that means for people don't know is that the defense is going to be able to cross-examine them as well. Like, I'm curious to these people's, what their response is going to be when the parents are up there on the stand under oath and they confirm everything that's in these charging documents. Like, what are you going to say to that? And then
I'm going to put a poll in the chat here. Did Tyler Robinson act alone? I'm going to put that in. This will trigger the algo. You go right ahead.
That's another thing that not only am I open to discussion, I mean, I'm open to discussion with all of it. I've never thought that Tyler Robinson acted alone. I mean, at a minimum, at a minimum, I think that Lance Twiggs knew what was going on. I think
Is
at a
that the
minimum,
friend, the boyfriend, the furry?
the,
Is that
the furry gay fellow that he
okay?
roomed
Okay.
with. I think, look, what we do know based on these Discord chats and other, and you got to understand, like, just what you just would know to be their social circles, right? And for people that haven't seen it, what was the videos? I'll try to think of the videos. A friend of theirs, Turkey Tom. If you haven't watched the Turkey Tom videos, you need to go watch those videos. Have you watched that, Ben?
I've seen some of it. He's got like a history of the transmission mechanic friends too, right? He's got
one of their
the gear
close
shifters.
friends. Yeah, so one of their close friends talked to Turkey Tom. There's pictures inside, their apartments. Look, the fact is that this LGBTQ trans community, they have their own community, right?
Okay.
I think, and this is just pure speculation, but I think that either online or in person, I think that there was discussions of this. I think it's unlikely that didn't happen. It could have not happened. Maybe he just did it completely on his own and did it in a void and in a vacuum. But then he goes online and he brags about it on Discord. So I think the idea that he did act alone, I find suspicious. I find unlikely, and I think at a minimum,
Wow.
Lance
Okay.
knew about it. That's always been my stance, and I also think that there is a high probability that he could have been targeted online, radicalized, and weaponized, and directed. And I don't even know if he was directed at Charlie Kirk. I think there is more and more evidence coming out, and these are things that I've been exploring, where you have these trans shooters that are just directed to do something. And, whether that's a school shooting or targeting someone like Charlie Kirk, I think those are all possibilities that should be looked into. And by the way, like the Salt Lake City Trans Gun Rights Club or whatever they are, those are being investigated. And I don't know if, I know a lot of people don't realize that, but there's been several articles published that they are being investigated with and looked into with ties between Tyler Robinson, Lance Twiggs, and all of this. So, that's
the chat. 84% of people think Tyler Robinson did not act alone. So there you go. 84% say no, and that could be boyfriend, friend, whatever, right?
Yeah. And then when we factor in, the George Zinn, and then we factor in, I'm trying to think of the guy that was asking the question, I'm having a brain fart here. All those things are strange. It doesn't mean that those things didn't happen independently, but they need to be looked into. I'm sure they have been looked into. So there's that.
Are they going to test? Are they going to have the boyfriend testify?
Yeah.
He will testify. Okay.
So
let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so the parents and Lance Twigg they announced it. I'm sure it was already determined a long time ago. They just recently announced it that they will be called to the stand. They will testify for the prosecuting attorney. And here's the conundrum the people that believe in some of these other conspiracies are going to run into. We have what's stated in the charging documents, and there's clear testimony from the parents that are recorded in here. Like, do you really think that the prosecuting attorney is going to get these people on the stand and that they're just going to be like, no, I never said that? I mean, the prosecuting attorneys do not have to call the parents. I mean, that would leave them open to be being subpoenaed by the defense. But if the prosecuting attorneys thought that they were going to contradict the state's evidence, they wouldn't even subpoena them. And, I mean,
can I play this clip that you sent here? And I don't know what this is. This is,
sure.
What does it say? Frangible bullet. Can you explain what that is for the people that don't know?
Sure. I was told the surgeon.
I'll
pause this. You go right ahead. Set this up.
So basically what the Daily Mail is saying is something that we've known for months, going all the way back to really like late September at least, when Andrew Colvett said that the surgeon stated that there was fragments of the round inside of his body. Now, one of the very first things that I said, people were like, well, there's no exit wound. I was like, well, then it was probably either a varmint round or some type of frangible round. And I don't want to get too esoteric in this, but like there's frangible rounds that are technically but even varmint rounds are technically frangible rounds. They just don't, both of those are made to fragment upon impact.
Okay.
So you're not, the last thing that you would expect in either one of those cases is to recover any sort of significant large pieces of a projectile that you're going to be able to do standardized tooling tests to see if any of the lands and grooves on the bullet actually match the rifling to the rifle itself. So we knew that going back, that at least what we knew for a fact is that the bullet is highly fragmented. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is a frangible round or a varmint round. There are lots of times, especially when you hit bone, and especially if that round is tumbling, which I do think we have evidence of some sort of lack of stability. I think at a minimum, what we had was a round that was an extreme yaw. And what that means is, for those of you that don't know ballistics, think of a nice thrown football, nice tight spiral. It's traveling the way it is. It's nice to stabilize. Now take that same football and throw it with your non-dominant hand. It's flipping around. It doesn't look pretty. That is a football with yaw, and bullets will do that. And there's lots of reasons why that can happen, and we can go down and talk about all of them if you want. But what we have on his entrance wound, which is clearly an entrance wound, but it is larger than normal. And for those of you, if you've ever done any shooting, if you see a round, what we call keyhole, which means it's flipping and actually hits the target broadside, it looks like a keyhole. And then there's different variations of that. So if it's not quite flipped 90 degrees, but it's 60 degrees, it's going to create a larger elongated hole. And I think that's possibly what we're seeing there. So my point is, it could be a frangible round, could be a varmint round, but it also could be even potentially a full metal jacket, that if it is actually inserts the neck and hits bone, and it is, not hitting it straight on, it is going to fragment more. So there's that. And so now we're talking about today, where the Daily Mail states that, well, what they stated is that it does not match. It doesn't match the gun. Well, that is such a clickbait, dishonest title. Really what it says is that it's inconclusive, that you can't match it to any gun. And that's actually what we'd expect. 30 to 40% of all.
How big of a piece does it take to match it? If that makes, I might be asking something stupid here. I don't know.
No, it's not stupid at all. What you need is clear, and you'd probably need more than one, right? So you have lands and grooves. All right. If you look down the barrel of a rifle, we have rifling, and obviously it's spiraled, and the lands are the high points and the grooves are obviously the low points. And so when that bullet goes down the barrel, it actually engraves those lands and grooves onto that bullet. So what they do with ballistic testing and try to matching with tooling marks and or the rifling, they'll actually shoot another round through that exact same barrel, and then they'll microscopically analyze the commonalities between the lands and grooves on this round and the lands and grooves that are actually impressed upon this round.
There's another shooter in here that said the exact, literally as you said, lands and grooves, Fu Manchu said the exact same thing. So he knows this. It seems like this is like the language for this, and I don't know that language. Dumb submarine guy.
I've been teaching long range for a living for almost 20 years. So anyways, the point here is when it comes to making an exact match, I don't know. You'd have to talk to a forensics. I don't know if they need more than just one land and groove, a groove pattern on one, or if they need like, all right, so that's a 20% match. If we have one, I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is now the prosecution is requesting the court that they're going to do metallurgic testing, and the defense is trying to stop them. So
why would they try to stop that? I mean,
well, because they're going to metallurgically match the ammunition.
Oh, they're going to match. Okay, I got you. Okay, I got you. Okay, Gotcha. Let me play this clip by the wizard here. Let's see what the wizard says. Let's go.
So I just want to just
go right ahead.
Got lost in the sauce a little bit. I mean, going back to December 7th, everybody's acting like this is new news. This is back to December 17th, and really this was mentioned long before this. But even back in December 17th, Candace Owens herself confirmed exactly what you and I are talking about right now. So go ahead.
No kidding. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's grab here. And then I've got some questions in the chat for you from some of the audience.
What I was told is that what the surgeon communicated very clearly to Andrew, and yes, it is absolutely true that the surgeon, Dr. Lee Trotter, hunts, so he does have experience with bullets. What he communicated is that it was likely a frangible bullet that was used. Now, for those of you who don't hunt, maybe don't shoot, and you're not familiar with that term, frangible, like what's a frangible bullet? That refers to a specialized ammunition that is designed to disintegrate into powder upon impact with a hard surface. So it essentially reduces the risk of a ricochet. Instead, the bullet fragments, makes it safer for close range training. It's not like the traditional bullets that are created to retain mass. Now, key part there is it eliminates the risk of ricocheting. Well, Andrew also told us that the bullet did ricochet. So what we have here is a conflict of statements. We are told that Andrew Kovett was flying blind, put up this tweet, said that the bullet ricocheted downward into his stomach, whatever. And I am telling you that on the other side of this, we have people who are close to the surgeon who say he said no such thing, and rather he said that it was likely a frangible bullet.
Okay. Give it to me in dumb submarine door gunner on a submarine version right there. Because that's what I did. I was a door gunner on a submarine. Talk to me.
Yeah. So all bullets, look, there's lots of different types of bullets that are designed to fragment.
Okay.
For one purpose or another. What she described as a frangible round, and it's not wrong, but she's taking, so for instance, center fire. I may even have some around here. Anyway,
I never knew they went to powder. I never knew they went to powder.
They do. All right. So there are frangible bullets that are designed for shooting targets, steel targets at close proximity that are designed to literally what it is. It's metallic powder that is put into a mold, and several tens of thousands of pounds of pressure is exerted on those, and it's called sintering together, and then when it actually hits with force, it will literally turn to powder. There's almost nothing left whatsoever. So that is a type of frangible, and then we have a spectrum of bullets that are designed to fragment, and a whole lot of things in between. So there's that, and that's what she's saying this is. And I would disagrry with her because she doesn't know what the heck she's talking about, as some very smart people pointed out in the chat. Now we have varmint rounds, for instance, Hornady Tap is actually Hornady VMAX, Varmint Max. All right, those types of rounds are varmint rounds. Those are designed to fragment upon impact immediately, but
these are the ones you're talking about here. Okay,
exactly.
Gotcha.
Well, okay. And this one's pointed soft point. It's a type of varmint rounds, but again, there's a lot of different varmint rounds. VMAX is one of them. They will just basically shatter upon impact. And what they're trying to do is create the most amount of terminal ballistic damage possible. And as somebody, you can think about a fragmenting grenade, however you want to, conceptualize that in your mind. So there is, and most people, when you say frangible round, they are thinking more of the center fire. They don't really understand that, like a lot of varmint rounds and other rounds that are actually designed to fragment are a type of frangible bullet, but they're not necessarily commercially advertised as that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This is it's so weird because I knew as soon as the Daily Mail came out with this salacious argument, everyone that was a Middle East expert, an Iran expert, saw this tweet, and now they are ballistics experts. And I'm just like, oh boy. Let me grab a couple of questions. Some people have been flying some questions in here.
Sure.
Gal, here we go. Gal says, Are spinning the ballistics findings deceptively inconclusive? Means the results can neither confirm nor deny a match. The defense doesn't want further testing for a reason. You look like you're about to laugh. Talk to me. Go with this one.
Well, first of all, this is one of our subscribers, Dr. Alto, and he references Candace's Gal Sharpton.
So this is an inside joke. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right,
and
gotcha.
folks, just so you, again, hopefully you guys caught that. That was from December 17th is when she was
her own words. Her own words.
What we know now. And yes, they are spinning the title on this to say, it doesn't match. It doesn't match. No. It's not that it doesn't match. It's just they can't confirm that it does match. That's what is being said in this report. And I actually have, if you want to throw up my screen real quick, we actually have the actual report from the ATF.
Let's see here. Is that
nope. It says Gary Paramount next to well, on mine it might be different.
I don't think it'll let me see here. Let me remove this.
Yep, you just got to remove one for the other.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let's see here. Why won't it let me remove? Let's go here.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
And if you want to make that big screen just so everybody can see it,
is that on your X page, I guess?
Yep. So this is from the ATF, a 4-page ATF report on the comparison between a bullet jacket fragment recovered during the autopsy of Charlie Kirk and rifle recovered by law enforcement. The result of the comparison is inconclusive. And it's inconclusive. So that's what it is. That's the official report. It's not saying that we have ruled out, and that's how it's being reported by a lot of people. Like, they proved that it wasn't Tyler's rifle. And that's not what's going on there.
Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Some of the information coming out, is this being leaked from the defense, from the prosecution? Is some of this stuff like privileged or is it just being made up by Candace? I mean, I don't know.
These reports are basically, they are being put out by, like, these are reports that are being made public. They're being put on the docket. These are the, so this is stuff that they're submitting to the court itself, so people can go in there and look at some of the court records and see what's going on. Now, as far as where the Daily Mail got that information, she may have called the court, may have talked to the prosecution, may have talked to the defense, and they may have decided, hey, this is what we want to release with it. But that's where we're at with that. So these are all public documents currently that are continuing to be made public as they're scheduling more hearings in the future.
How are they going to get a jury that is
prejudiced?
Prejudice. Yeah, there you go. How are they going to do that?
I have my own concerns about that. A few months ago, I had Andrea Burkhart, who's a defense attorney, a criminal defense attorney. I jokingly call her my favorite pro-criminal person. But, that's the way that she approaches everything from the criminal defense. And what we did is I had her on. I was like, hey, let's go through the charging documents. And as well as I have the affidavit of probable cause right here. Let's go through these. And as a defense attorney, try to prosecute these, try to go through and figure out what's wrong and explain to us what is real, what's not real. There's lots of people saying, hey, this testimony isn't real. The text messages in the charging documents aren't real because they didn't have timestamps next to them. So we just went through and sanity checked, and she explained that, essentially, number one, this is one of the most solid cases that she's ever seen, that she would not want this case. I asked her, I was like, would you want to defend this? And she's like, no. Some of the questions about the text messages. I said, hey, there's the argument that these aren't real because there isn't timestamps next to them. And, you know, there's ellipses there that says there's more information. She's like, no, this is completely normal. She said, this is not, look, these charging documents are not the evidence. It's a list of evidence that in good faith is being presented by the attorneys to the actual judge. They're going through this and they're saying, hey, this is the evidence that we have. Like, this is a tip of the iceberg. Even then, this is just enough to get charges presented, right? And get charges filed and convince a judge that there's enough evidence to get charges filed. The moment this was filed, which I think the charging documents were released on September 16th, the investigation was still going on. The investigation is still going on to this day. And, you know, they have now listed, I think it's like 280 terabytes of information. They have like 20,000 documents. I mean, the amount of evidence that they have against Tyler Robinson it's going to be a challenge to overcome that, to say the least. And to me, the most damning thing, Ben, I'm sure you're a father, right?
Yeah, I got a daughter. Yeah.
So if your daughter was put on charges and it was a death penalty case and you didn't believe anything the state was saying, would there be anything that would stop you from getting in front of a camera and being like, hey, this is total bullshit, man? Like,
if they allowed me in front of a camera, I would probably get in front of the camera and say, I did it.
Yeah.
I would probably go that route.
Let me ask you this. What if they court ordered you not to say anything in defense of your daughter that would potentially be sent to her death over basically this conspiracy of fake charges? Like, I don't know about you, but there's nothing.
I would be arrested. I would be arrested.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would get in front of that camera no matter what. And
let me ask you this. Somebody said, ask about accelerator rounds. I have no clue what that is.
If you go back to that picture, I actually show the accelerator rounds.
On my stuff here. Okay,
yeah.
Let me go back here. I'll go back there.
I believe I have a picture of those.
Okay.
I don't think it's accelerator rounds, to save everybody some suspense. I really don't.
See, I've got reduced recoil. I've got frangible. Let's see here. What is this one? Varmint, predator, soft point.
Keep going.
What? I think that's all four. I think that's all four of those. Yeah, that's all four of those things there.
So anyway,
what is this here? What is this here?
So this is just a few of dozens. Look, there are dozens and dozens of different types of 30-06 ammunition. So these are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is just 6 different types of 30-06 ammunition. And we can look at the projectiles and see that they're made out of different materials. They're different weights. They're different lengths. The cross section is different. Their ballistic coefficient is different. So when I have people say, "Oh, well, I had a 30-06 and it did, you know, my papaw's 30-06 will blow your head off." Like, so you have all these different types of rounds, dozens and dozens of different types of rounds. Never mind different powders and all that, but just the projectiles themselves. And you think that you're going to have the exact same terminal ballistic result with all of these rounds? That's why they engineer different projectiles, so you can customize the results that you want. And look, if I was going to assassinate someone, if I was in Tyler Robinson and I was able to choose the ammunition, knowing what I know, the first thing that I would pick is varmint rounds. Varmint rounds is one of the best self-defense ammunition. It's literally designed to kill smaller things than deer and buffalo and moose and elk. Like, that's exactly what. And to go with this, again, what I said earlier, Hornady VMAX was a varmint round. Now you can also go buy Hornady TAP ammunition as tactical application. It's the exact same projectile. And what they've done is they've turned it into a tactical round, because what it does is it's frangible. It breaks up upon impact. It has devastating results. As a matter of fact, if you want to look,
is there any evidence that Tyler Robinson is a trained long-range sniper, Delta Bro or whatever? I mean,
no.
Is there any evidence that he has half or maybe even 25% of the training you have?
No, but nothing that we saw is required of that. I mean, shooting 140 yard.
Is that how long? Is that how far of a shot it was? 140
Yeah, it was
yards.
like 100, 138 yards.
Was
Yeah.
and I mean, I remember. I mean, I do a little bit of hunting. I've killed a bunch of deer. Most of them open sights, Marlin 30-30. It's sitting behind the door.
Yeah.
140 yards isn't a hell of a long shot. I mean,
No.
that's a submarine that I used to work on is 3 football fields long.
Yeah.
140 yards is a football field and a couple of first downs. I just don't see this being this this amazing. I got a really good friend of mine. He's a Marine. He was a sniper, Marine Corps sniper. He lived with Carlos Hathcock for about 8 weeks, 12 weeks, lived with him. And he said they are making a mountain out of a molehill from this shot. They are making another JFK movie out of this. And whenever he said it like that, I was like, okay, this guy literally lived with one of the greatest snipers in the world and trained with him. I think I'm going to take his, his judgment on that. What about this comment here? Candace is doing everything she can to finish the job Robinson started. All her work is probably going to get Robinson acquitted. We need to stop playing nice with this heathen. What are your thoughts on that? Is that true? Is that what you've noticed, I guess?
Yeah. So here, I agree that he's, well, there's 2 elements of that. Number one, when we say what Robinson started is he was trying to end not just Charlie Kirk, but TPUSA.
Gotcha.
So I agree with that. I think that Candace Owens ultimately is attacking Charlie's life's work and all of the advances that he made. I mean, Charlie Kirk, the reason that Donald Trump was elected was Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is personally attributed with 2.5 million votes. We beat Kamala Harris by 2.3 million. He also started a conservative and Christian revival amongst youth. Suddenly, because of Charlie Kirk, it was suddenly cool to be a conservative, to believe in the Constitution. And we saw that, like we saw even a bigger resurgence of that, or a surge of that, like within 2 weeks, for the first 2 weeks after his death. And then suddenly what they were doing is they were going after TPUSA and, basically implying and casting aspersions across Erica Kirk, TPUSA staff, Andrew Colvett, and the rest of them. And, this is one of the things that I've said since probably December. I really do think that this is a psychological operation. And I think whether Candace Owens is wittingly or unwittingly participating, I don't know. But what I can tell you for sure is that there is a huge number of bots and sock puppet accounts that are pushing her narratives, both online, and I think it's even more than that. So I do think that we have foreign adversaries that are pushing this stuff. I also think that there are leftist political organizations like George Soros funded types, and then even like Google, YouTube. Yeah. Like every time that you open up YouTube, who's right there? Who's recommended right off the top? Candace Owens. And why? Because Charlie Kirk represented TPUSA. TPUSA represents Trump and MAGA. That's what's going on here. This is an attack against MAGA, against Trump, against the conservative movement. What they are trying to do, and they may do this, is they are trying to make sure that we lose the midterms. And if we lose the midterms, the rest of President Trump's presidency is screwed.
I used to work in DC as a lobbyist for a veterans organization. Pete Hegseth used to be my boss. I've met Charlie a couple of times, and I've said since the very beginning, and this is going back 10 years ago when I was working in DC, Charlie Kirk was at the very cusp of the battlefield. He was in the heart of the battlefield because the United States, we are the only country that allows our enemy to teach our children. And he was going into the belly of the beast like Noah in the whale's stomach. He was taking the fight to the college campuses where all of this woke, retarded, bullshit is, where they
Yeah.
have crying closets, where they tell you to hate your parents, where they tell you to hate God, where they tell you to hate America. They train you to burn a flag, and they train you that the Constitution is garbage. He was going there not to disrupt anything other than showing people you don't need a college degree to be successful. You don't need to start life $120,000 in debt for a degree in feminine dance therapy. And dudes can be dudes. Men can be men. Young men should be young men. And that, I believe, is what scared the hell out of the Democrat Party, because a lot of people, even with the help of Candace Owens, when she had a little bit of common sense and maybe was on her medication, she started this Blexit movement. I don't know what happened. I don't know what was removed from her spine. Maybe Charlie didn't hook up with her, but it seems like that is what has happened. And they had to get rid of him because he was doing one thing. And it's I think 7 letters. He was winning on college campuses. The Department of Education will not go down without a fight. These university campuses and these woke, blue-haired, nose-ring fucking cocksuckers will not go down without a fight, and they got rid of their number one enemy. That's what I believe. And sorry for the language, but I don't give a shit. This is the way it is.
Charlie Kirk was a social warrior. And he was winning the show. One guy was winning the social war against the entire apparatus. He was the one out there saying, hey, girls can't be boys and boys can't be girls. I don't care what you think it is. And look, they killed him for it. They killed him for it.
Absolutely.
And whatever you want, the left killed Charlie. A person that felt like he was the defender of the trans movement is the one that killed Charlie. And he thought he was going to be a hero. And quite frankly, he probably is amongst them. And that's why he shows up in court completely, just aloof, doesn't care. There's no remorse in that guy's face. He's wearing, the same colors of the LGBTQ flag. That's not by chance. Look, what we have is somebody that killed Charlie Kirk and is proud of it. And I hope to God that the evidence plays out, and I want justice I want justice to be served, and I want it to be carried out correctly. But at the end of the day, Tyler Robinson, I hope, is killed for murdering Charlie Kirk. That's what I hope. If he's guilty, and if the evidence shows beyond a reasonable doubt that he is, and it will, that's what I want to see happen.
33% of the people in
all this other stuff is just a distraction.
A third of the people in the chat, I put a poll up. Does Tyler Robinson get exonerated? A third of the poll says yes.
No. Like, there is so much evidence that we know of, and then there's 10 times what we don't know. Like, they're going to have very clear pictures. I went to UVU. There are cameras all over that place, Ben. Like, the idea that, that's what people get confused. They are approaching this with the information that they have, right? So they see this blurry image of Tyler Robinson. They see this person that I would be the first to admit, you can't identify, is that Tyler Robinson on the roof? We don't know that. But you got to understand what happened. And we have this stuff. People are like, well, why didn't they show him actually taking the shot? Folks, the reason that we have the footage of Tyler Robinson that we do during that day was because, number one, some people took footage. And number two, we have security cam footage. The security cam footage was released to you. That was somebody going through that and okay, I can release this so we can try to find out who the shooter is, but this footage will not affect the case in a negative way. They said, hey, we're going to release this footage. Somebody that knows him is going to recognize him. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. The mom recognized him. The father recognized him. They recognized the rifle from the picture. What they were trying to accomplish without compromising the case, they did with the carefully selected footage. They're not going to show you him taking the shot. They're not going to show you super clear pictures on purpose because they don't want to damage the case. They have those things, I promise you. And they're going to show from point A to point Z that, hey, this was Tyler Robinson through and through. They have cell phone location data. They're going to have his location all over the place. They're going to put him up on there, most likely, unless he didn't have his phone on him or something crazy. But there's so much information that's going to be available. And on top of that, his confession. He has confessed on multiple different platforms, including to his parents.
It's crazy. Some Boomhauer says innocent to proven guilty, I thought. Boomhauer, you might be right. I think you are innocent until you're proven guilty.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that you are innocent until you're proven guilty.
It doesn't stop us from assessing the case. And I would not be, I'm not the guy that's the justice system, right? Like we can sit here and talk about the case and give our opinions on whether or not he's guilty or not. What I don't see, like I hear those people talk about Tyler all the time. I don't see those people on Candace Owens' page saying, hey, you shouldn't be accusing Erica Kirk of murder because there's no evidence. Like they'll defend, and this is the weird thing to me. They'll defend Tyler Robinson and be like, oh, innocent until proven guilty. Like you can't be saying those things, even though we have a ton of evidence. But if you apply the same standard to Erica Kirk and some of these people that are being accused of murder without any evidence, they're like, yeah, they definitely did it. They definitely did it. Like there's such a double standard and the hypocrisy is unreal.
Let's talk about that because that has amazed me. How quickly people went from we don't allow widows to grieve. We don't the dynamics of the entire thing, how it quickly went to Erica Kirk is responsible. Erica Kirk did this. But nobody will ever say that Jackie Kennedy did that to JFK in the car. Nobody will say that, right? Jackie Kennedy off bounds. Candace or Erica Kirk open. I've never heard anybody say for the Butler, Pennsylvania, where was Melania? Where was Melania? No, nobody says this, right? Like, how did it go to this lady or this mom, this widow? How did it go there? How did that happen?
Information operation. I mean, there's no other explanation for it. It's somebody drove that there in spite of common sense, in spite of a lack of evidence, in spite of evidence for something else completely. Like you have to abandon reality. You have to sit there and say, and they will, that all of this evidence in this, it's not real. It's not real. But I believe that he was killed with an exploding mic. Like that's what people are doing. And now I have to kind of come up with all of these things that aren't real to support that. Like, oh, there was like this secret thing and, they attached it to him and it was, tested at Fort Huachuca and, Mitch Snow. And like, you have to start cobbling all these things together that have no correlation. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to create this weird correlation between points and ideas that have no connection whatsoever. You create the connection and the correlation, and then you just completely from whole cloth fabricate causation out of all those things. And that's what's insane to me. And watching people do that, it's like
the guy you had on your show the other night. I wanted to vomit. This Zach Costello. Oh my God. I mean, you did a great job because I don't know how the hell you restrained yourself, but I will say this, after I watched as much as I possibly could take, I felt so much smarter. I felt so much like in a better place in life. I was like, I'm about to go build my own Tesla. I felt that freaking intelligent. I was like, I'm a genius. I am a literal genius because this Zach Costello was I think a lot of people just try to be contrarians. I get them in here. But I don't think he was a contrarian. I think he believed all of it. And I watched him with Andrew Wilson. And I was like, there's no way that he gets just absolutely pile drived by Andrew Wilson. And then he goes to your show and tried the same crap. I was like, oh my God, this guy needs to develop the capability to breathe through his nose because he's a mouth breather, 1,000% mouth breather. I couldn't get over it.
The crazy thing is that he admitted to Andrew Wilson, and I talked to him about it before the show too, that he essentially believes that it's most likely that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. But
it's not profitable for him to come out and say this.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's so much more profitable to hypothesize how all of these other crazy theories could be correct. And that's how you ride the fence. And that's how you grift. I mean, it's just dishonest. It's just disingenuous. You can't believe any of that stuff.
Here's a victim. I love victims. I love victims.
I don't think that Candace Owens believes any of it. I really don't. I really don't think so. And I don't think most of these people that are pushing it believe it. But you can see, like, Zach went from, I don't know, like 30,000 followers to 300,000 followers during that time. And what is he gonna talk about? And literally all he's doing is taking Candace Owens content and then reposting it with his own spin on it. Like, oh, this is what
it's genius.
Yeah, like it's genius.
Coach Colin, he was a Joe Rogan guy until this thing, and now he's a Candace guy. Coach Colin.
Yeah,
he was a Joe Rogan every day. Joe Rogan interviewed this. Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan destroyed, unleashed, whatever. And now every video is Candace Owens just said this.
Yeah.
The Wolves in Finance guy, Zach, I had him on my show before the Charlie Kirk stuff, talking about election integrity. Sure. This happened. He jumps all over this like it's a hot potato. He's making thousands off of what I would say fertilizer, just BS, just unprovable BS, unfounded trash is what it's happening.
100%. Like, and it's very profit, and it's the opposite is true from my perspective, right? I didn't start going after it is not popular to hold the positions that I hold, and I don't care. I don't care.
To be reasonable. Yeah.
Luckily, I am in a spot where I have a business and it pays the bills. I don't rely on any social media, and I can't imagine where it's like, even if I relied on this 100%, I would not be able to look at myself in the mirror if I decide, you know what, I'm just going to bend the truth a little bit here, bend the truth so that I can get more views, more likes, or whatever. I find that thought disgusting.
I tell everybody I'm an expert on my opinion. I do news and current events, and I talk about that. And when I make a video, I'm not trying to convince you of everything. I'm giving you my opinion. Yeah. But I have a full-time job. I tell everybody in the morning after my live stream, hey guys, I got to go. I drive a 50-year-old truck to work. I got to go to work. Like, literally, that's what I do. And there's so many doomer black pill podcasters that have flipped the Epstein stuff. Nobody said anything about Epstein for the last 29 days because we're in, Iran. Epstein, that's off the table, right? Nobody talks about that. But
nobody was talking about Epstein files during the Biden administration either. And then it wasn't until Trump released them, and basically come to find out, everybody that was accusing Trump was the exact opposite. I mean, the Epstein files all but vindicate Trump. He helped turn them in.
He was an informant. He was an informant.
He talked to the FBI about him. It's, and I have looked, I don't know if you have, once the Epstein files dropped, and then again, when they unredacted them, I went through them again for days and days and days. And there's a lot of information in there. There's nothing in there that's actionable. Not that I've been able to find. And then on top of that, the other thing is that the Biden administration had them for 4 years. We have no idea what's been taken out of those things and what's been put in there. So the Epstein file in itself is a psychological operation that is now being used as a political cudgel against Trump. And he had nothing to, the only thing he did was he was the only one that released him. So take that for what it is.
You're 1,000% right. Let me grab some of these super chats here, some of these questions. Ask about dropping your 30-30 from 180 grain to 140 silver tip, about the difference in longer range effects, puncture of you lost me at that one.
All right. So all he's talking about, I don't know why he's bringing up 30-30. From 180 grain to 140 grain silver tip, about the difference in long range effects. So a heavier bullet, this also depends on its form factor and its sectional density. A heavier bullet typically is going to have a higher ballistic coefficient. So we want heavier for caliber bullets to shoot longer distances. It's going to be less affected by the wind. The other thing that it does is it maintains velocity longer.
Okay.
So typically you want, for instance, if you're shooting 308, we'll do 308. You can shoot 140 grain round in 308, or you can shoot, 175, 168. Those are like 175, 168 grain bullets are like kind of like what you want optimal for long range for 308. There's lots of different bullet types. There's lots of different bullet shapes. Then we get into the different ballistic coefficients and G1 versus G7 ballistic models and types of ballistic coefficients, and how you rate those, and longer ogives versus a shorter ogive, which again comes down to the bullet form factor, which is also important in that. So I don't know if that's exactly what he's asking. I didn't understand the question, but I think that's where he's going with it. You want to heavier bullets are going to do better for long range.
I don't know. I'm kind of lost on that one. Let's do this. I'm going to take a handful of phone calls. Guys, gals, girls, if you want to call in, numbers at the top, 615-475-7864. Turn down the audio in the background. I will hang up on you faster than your ex-wife if you don't. But feel free if you've got a question, comment, or concern.
And give me 1 minute. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick.
I'll take this one there. Brian, Lima, Ohio, what you got?
Hey, I love this show. This is absolutely awesome. But I only have one question that,
I got a question for you. I got a question for you. How many have you had to drink so far?
2.
Okay. Brian, you take care. Have a good night. There we go. There we go. Thank you. Call back. I could smell it from here. As someone that was a functioning alcoholic, I could smell it. I could tell. I could feel the slurring. Anyway, lines are open, 615-475-7864. Feel free, give me a call back. Whoever's wanting to call in. But there you go. Lima, Ohio. That was Brian. He calls in after he's had a few in the bag. Here we go. Line 2. What do you got? I had to hang up on my first guy. He had a few too many Harley pops. Go right ahead. What you got?
Are you talking to me now?
I'm talking to you.
Awesome, sir. Yeah. So I had a question for you guys, and it's about the Charlie Kirk shooting with Tyler Robinson. And my question is, the bullets that they found on the scene by the rifle, Tyler Robinson had apparently written down quotes on them.
Is that true?
On the bullet cases, on the bullets.
Well, see,
now, wouldn't you suggest or maybe think that the same bullet that he used to do the shooting would be the same type of bullet that was there, that he actually inscribed his writing on? That's one thing that's been bothering me that I've never heard anybody bring up once, and throughout this last 6 months that I've been paying attention to this.
Was there any writing on the casing of the expended bullet? I never even heard this.
I don't know that, but there were 5 bullets that he wrote, some place from an opera that was in Italian or something. I don't remember.
All right, perfect.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'll hang up and let Gary. Oh, go ahead, Gary. Go ahead.
Let me answer a couple of these things. So first off, on the fired cartridge, what was written, and folks, you can go download. And
hey guys, thank you. You guys have a great
Thanks,
night,
buddy.
You can download the charging documents, right? So they're right here. You can download these, and a lot of these questions will be answered. On the fired cartridge, it was written on the cartridge. It was etched. Notices bulge. OWO, what's this? So that was on the fired cartridge. Now, here's what it doesn't say on here. Obviously, if it's on the fired cartridge, we don't know if anything was actually done to the projectile. Now, what I can, this goes back to what I was talking about as far as yaw, and why we have a potentially, again, this is speculation on my part, just based on what I'm seeing. If he etched, and it talks about in the affidavit for probable cause, they recovered etching equipment from his house and additional rounds that were also etched. So there's another.
So that could affect the bullet. That could affect the. So
if he did any etching on the projectile itself, that round would not stabilize. We would have extreme yaw taking place, which means that thing would be wobbling through the air, which also could explain and would explain why we. There's a lot of things that could explain this, but he was not aiming for the neck. He was most likely aiming for a high center chest, or if he was feeling lucky, he was aiming for the head. So that bullet either went 8 inches high and off to the left, depending on where he was aiming, and how Charlie Kirk moved in that moment, and then also or 8 inches low. So I think he was aiming for the chest, and there's good indications for that too.
Good friend of mine here. They could do isotope testing. Talk about that.
Yeah.
If you
what
want.
he's talking about is the metallurgy, right? So isotope testing is where they take pieces of that metal, different components of it, and again, we don't even know if it was like a bimetal construction. We don't know, based on what the information is, what the construction of the projectile is. So they're going to do isotope testing, and like for instance, I got. Let's pull this out. All right. So I have these 2 different boxes of 30-06 ammunition, right? If I did isotope testing on the projectile, let's say I shot this projectile into a pig or a ballistic gel or whatever else, and we couldn't do the tooling test to see if it matched the rifling. So what we're left with is the metal. The metal in this jacket is going to have a very unique fingerprint compared to the metals in this jacket. I mean, it's just
Okay.
It's as simple. It's like the bullet's DNA, if you will. And by the way, that would change slightly, even from case from lot to lot of ammo.
Let's turn these phones back on. Let's see. I didn't know that. I'd heard that. I'm hoping somebody asks about the Rode microphones, but I'm so glad that you freed that up now that I can use mine. Florida Trucker, what do you got, Florida Trucker?
Hey, man. Oh, I had 34 guns at one point in time, and I used to reload all my own ammo and stuff. I had the
No
308.
life stories.
FAL.
Call in with a question.
Okay.
No life stories. Questions.
Okay. The accelerator, I sent you a picture on your messages of the 30-06 accelerator with a .55 grain 223. Okay, in case you want to look at that. See
what does that have to
like.
do with any question for Gary?
Well, okay.
This is Jeopardy. Phrase the answers in the form of a question.
On the neck. How did it just stop right there at the neck and didn't blow out the back side?
Okay, we'll try to get that. Thanks, Trucker. Stay safe.
Yeah, so
how did it not go? Because everybody's like, the 30-06 should have taken the head off. It should have been Jon Snow slicing the head off, right? I mean, that's what I've heard.
Let me find a couple of photos, because I think we need to add a little bit of context to this, and I'll try to answer that as best as I can.
Okay. I just think it's amazing. There's just so many like theories. And the Kennedy assassination, it's estimated that Kennedy dying made over $200 million in revenue from books, museums, stories, talk shows. I don't know how much that this Charlie Kirk thing is. I don't know how much money Candace Owens has made, but
there's a guy named Josh. I can't think of his last name right now. He estimated right now that Candace is up over close to 80 million between views, memberships, sponsorships, and things like that. So
let's grab this call. What do you got? Line 2. What do you got? Turn the audio down in the background. I'll hang up on you. There you go. That's a perfect example. So she's made that much money off of this. I mean, wow, that is that's insane. Let me ask you this. What do you think about, well, let's see if we can try it again. You got the audio down. Line 2, go.
Okay, I got a question. So if we have the evidence of basically the video of what we can go on, you see his shirt jump almost to his ear, then we see a bullet fragment in his neck. What does that really have to do? I mean, that's the only evidence that is there. Any high power rifle can do that. So my question is basically, what are they trying to get at here? Because if he was shot in the neck, it would definitely go through. But if it hit his vest and it had to jump that high.
What vest? I don't believe he was wearing a vest.
That shot.
I don't believe he was wearing a vest. I think he was wearing a white t-shirt that said freedom on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if
Now-
you look at the actual video, which we do have, you'll see that shirt jump all the way up to his ear. And if that was just a shirt and a bullet went through a shirt, the shirt will not move. So something was underneath that shirt. That's what made it jump up to his ear.
All right. I don't believe that, but if that's the way that you saw it, okay. God bless you.
I'll happily give an explanation for that, because if for the people that have been following me for a long time, the first day that came out, when we had very little footage, literally the very first day, I postulated that he was wearing a vest, and it does look like there's a round that impacts here and then deflects upward. By the end of the day, after I posted that video, I had gotten additional footage and pictures where I don't think he had a vest on. And at the end of the day, what we've done is we've ruled that out. Now, what he's talking about, and I was trying to find another video here, but a picture. What he's talking about is there are pictures where his shirt jumps up to his left ear. And
Okay.
what that is, that's his necklace. And I'll tell you exactly what's taking place there. He is impacted with this round that goes here. And then you can see from the side profiles, and we can pull up some pictures in a second, his spine, when the round hits his spine actually deforms outward several inches. And you got to understand, his spine is actually being accelerated probably close to 2,000 feet per second. And so
Gotcha.
what
Okay.
we have is we have him with a necklace on, and right about where his spine juts out was the back of that necklace. So just like a Newton's cradle, click, 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 it transfers and accelerates the back of that necklace that fast, and then it actually yanks up the cross that's on his necklace. It yanks it up, and that's what we see why his shirt is up above his ear. So that's my explanation for it.
Okay. All right. Grab some more calls here, man. The people, I love the call. I love hearing from just average American people. I just do. And I believe, Gary, you do a great job just being yourself. There's a lot of people that are just fake on a camera. Let's go.
Well,
Bobby in Tennessee. What do you got, Bobby?
Hey, Ben. You know what? You know what we're living in right now? I'll tell you what we're living in.
South Park
I
episode.
love you, Jeff. You know, I've got a 30-06. It was in Vietnam and in Korea. I inherited. It was a sniper rifle. We are living in the National Enquirer era of all these people who are supporting Candace Owens and all this bullshit that they're spewing.
Are
Think
you
about it.
saying that we're living in the checkout line in a grocery store
In
in
a
the
grocery store.
1990s? Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Bobby-
Even my grandmother would buy those magazines and believe everything in them. Come on, this is all bullshit. The guy
Bobby, thank you
did
for
it.
calling.
He's
I'm
not
going to grab
gonna
this
give up.
other one.
All right.
Great point. Let's go line 2. What do you got? Line 2. Questions, comments.
Hey, Ben.
What you got?
I was just wondering, what incentive did the man who said I shot Charlie Kirk have? Who was he? Has anyone done a deep dive into this man? Like,
The old
what
guy
incentive
down in
would
the
you
bottom.
have to yell at?
So it's George Zinn is his name.
He's been to all these rallies, right? He's been all over the place.
Yeah, he's been all over the place. He's been tied to some other things. I can sit here and make up a bunch of stuff. I mean, look, ultimately, when they started going through his phone right there on the scene, by the way, they found CP, if we all know what that is.
Oh,
So
right.
he was clearly disturbed. I don't know. Like, what I'm inclined to believe is that he saw an opportunity, and I don't have a good answer for you. Was he involved?
He beat
So-
Candace to the grift. He beat Candace to the grift. He was there.
He was on it. He
Yep.
was on it for sure. Hunter Kozak was the other guy that was talking, that was actually asking questions at the moment the shot took place. And then, like, before the show, he actually released footage where, like, before the show, like, he was like doing these weird reactions. I don't know what all that means, but what I do think is that it has been investigated. He also claimed, and this is one of the things that Andrew Wilson hit Zach real hard on, because Zach was kind of belaboring this point. And he's like, well, what was his incentive to say that? But then later on, he also told the cops that he was paid to do this. And, definitely, I think it would be insane to believe that Utah authorities and or the FBI didn't research and investigate to make sure that he didn't get paid or whatever else. But then,
Gotcha.
Zach was saying, well, he said he was paid. Well, he also just said that he shot Charlie. One is definitely a lie. So why couldn't the other one be a lie? So, I mean, the fact is we don't know what was going on with George then. I don't see. Yeah, I mean, we just don't know. And you can speculate. It might be fun too. But the fact is you don't know. I don't know.
You know, that's exactly right. That is exactly freaking right. Let's grab a couple more calls. I love hearing what people have deduced, right? That's now you went to the actual university, the university campus. Has Candace ever been to the campus?
She's never been.
Has Baron Coleman ever been to the campus?
Not that I'm aware of.
Has Coach Colin ever been to the campus?
Not that I'm aware of.
What about Ian Carroll?
Ian Carroll has been there, actually.
Ian's been there. Okay. So I mean,
and here's the thing. And here's the thing. There's elements of the campus, like for instance, and we can pull up a video if you'd like. There's elements of the campus that these people, including Ian Carroll, who's been there, never actually released. Like, how do you get to the roof? And the fact that it is so easy. But what we have is Candace Owens continuing to say he's like Spider-Man. He's scaling the rooftops like Spider-Man.
What about the tunnels? What about the tunnels?
You just walk. I have pictures of the tunnels if you'd like to see those.
Bring that up.
They're just hatches. Sure.
Somebody in the chat posted a question here. After your interview with Brian Harpole, how did that make what did that do for your security? Let me grab this call and then I'll turn them off.
Sure.
Go right ahead. Line 1. Go ahead. Line 1.
Hi, Ben. It's Eidolon here. I have a question because a lot of the focus seems to be on the type of ammunition and everything, but what about the condition of the rifle that the bullet was shot from? Do we have any information on that? Could fouling inside of the barrel have affected the trajectory to make these kind of weird ballistics that we're seeing? Or do we not have anything about his particular rifle?
Yeah, so we don't know anything about the rifle other than that. The only thing that we know is a 30-06, and we have a picture of it. Now, as far as you're absolutely right, and I've said this 100 times, and that's where I said there's many other things that could affect it other than just the ammunition. So, number one, if that barrel is worn, it will not spin the projectile correctly. So we have what we call shot out barrel. It could be so corroded and or we could have so much copper fouling that it also will not actually stabilize the round. We don't know what the twist rate of the barrel is. If that twist rate of that barrel is 1 in 16 and you're shooting a 180 grain bullet, that's not going to stabilize the round. So there's literally every single variable that we would want to know about the rifle and about the ammunition to where we could come to some reasonable prediction about what would happen. We don't know a single one of those. Not a single one.
Gotcha. Yeah. The Brian Harpole thing, he was the head of the security, right?
That's correct.
And you've got a background of doing diplomatic protection.
That's correct.
Did they fail in any way, or what are your thoughts? I mean, it's always armchair quarterbacking. Obviously, you could pick something and run with it as being wrong. But what's your overall assessment of that?
So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you got to say they failed, I guess. Look, the thing that people don't realize is that Charlie Kirk was not the president. He does not have a presidential detail. He doesn't have counter sniper teams. He doesn't have multiple, he doesn't have 100 people on station to do all the things. What he had was what's called close protection detail. And what they're responsible for is close protection. They're responsible for about a 30-yard perimeter. That's all they can do. Now, you can say, well, they should have had more security. Well, that's not on the security detail. If I'm working a security firm and I'm like, hey, Charlie or whoever, an executive that I'm going to be protecting, like, what is it that you want? I want a close protection detail. Okay, well, this is going to be $50,000 a day, whatever it is that you're going to charge. And like, okay, yeah, but you know, we're worried about snipers. Okay, well then if you're worried about snipers and we're providing counter sniper support, we're going to add 6 more people to the detail so that they're paying attention there. I'm not typically, when we say counter snipers, we're talking about guys with guns that are going to shoot snipers. Like they're not going to have the authority to be able to do that. But what you could add to the detail is like 6 guys that all they do is they pay attention to the rooftops, and then they'll have like 2 guys, depending on the venue and what the line of sight is. You know, they would have a couple of guys down the ground looking at rooftops, looking at windows, all these things, and then they would have a couple of people out on the roofs or whatever else. But then it's like, like the number one way to assassinate someone in Mexico and South America is drive-bys. Like it would take one person to just like know exactly when, like I could have planned it, like when Charlie Kirk was going to leave. I know he's leaving. I watch him come in and I see that he has a very channelized route to go out. When you look at UVU, there's only one way to get out of there. If I wanted to plan an assassination of Charlie Kirk, the way that I would have done it, wait for them to go out, go stand in front of their car and then shoot the car up. Right? Like that's super easy. So then we get into, well, he should have had a bulletproof vehicle. All right. So bullet resistant vehicle. Okay. Now we're into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. The fact is that when you have a close protection detail, they're bodyguards. They have no statutory authority. Right. So they can't just go and they can't go like in Secret Service. And we talk about that one location, and I actually got a 3D model. If you want to, we can pull that up and take a look at that.
Sure. Yeah. Is that on your X page?
No, it's I have to pull it up here, but we can present it.
Okay. Gotcha.
There's that location. But the other thing that people don't realize is like, there's also hundreds of rooms with windows that actually had a line of sight of Charlie Kirk as well. And so do we secure those as well as a private security detail? The fact is the physical security. So a location, a roof location that's 140 yards away, they have campus UVU police. They had already talked to them about securing the roofs, and they have a responsibility to secure the physical security of the location. And you know, here's one of the great examples. I say, if somebody had went up to the roof and they got into that location, I'll show you guys how easy it is if you haven't seen it, and we'll show you the video for that. But if somebody was up there and they just wanted to spectate, right? But then they actually fell off of that rooftop, who would be responsible? Would it be Charlie Kirk's? No, they would be suing the school itself because they're responsible for the security of their rooftops, the physical security of the location. So, I mean, technically they failed. Was it outside of their capabilities to mitigate that threat? Yeah, it was. And they also had 3,000 people in front of them. And UVU they can carry on campus. So you figure probably 10%, let's just go crazy, say 5%. 5% of the people had a firearm on them. And we even saw people leaving the location, pulling out their firearms that were spectators. So we know that was the case. So there was 150 firearms within 40 yards of Charlie Kirk at any given time. The number one threat, the most likely threat, came from that crowd. And that's where they're going to have, I think they had 11 guys on station. They had guys out in the crowds, patrolling the crowds, looking and talking to people and looking at suspicious people. And there was a guy that was up against the back wall with a backpack. I know one of the security personnel stopped and talked to him and asked him, like, who are you? What are you doing here? You know, he's like giving him the shakedown because he acted suspicious, and it turned out to be nothing. But the point is like they had all these people, but they had 11 people to secure Charlie Kirk from 3,000 people.
Right.
And
right.
I know that's not the answer that everybody likes. And if multiple millions of dollars per venue to secure his location, what they spend on one venue, TPUSA was spending per year on Charlie Kirk security.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, you nailed it. And like you said, Charlie Kirk is a celebrity, a political activist.
Yeah.
Not a elected official of the country or potential president of the United States. That's
there was no precedent for it. There was no precedent for it whatsoever.
I mean, I've heard like, why didn't they have drones? Why didn't they have drone? I'm like, whoa, dude, come on,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Calm down, dude.
drones are not the security panacea that everyone thinks they are. And I tried to fly and I ultimately did. But we started flying our surveying drone on campus, and immediately I was met by UVU police. It was actually Provo police that made us ground the drone. And so they have a very strict drone policy there. It's not within their authority to have that policy, but you're not going to, like, law enforcement don't know that. That airspace is dictated by FAA, and they don't know that. And I'm not going to sit there. And even though we had I had a professional drone pilot there that I was paying for this survey, he had done all the FAA paperwork. We explained that they do not have authority over their airspace to the cop. He was like, too bad, that's the rules. I'm like, well, your rules aren't valid, but I'm not going to go to jail over it. And then we went and talked to UVU administration, and they basically said the same thing, like, oh, well, you have to fill out all this paperwork, and you got to get it approved. And the guy that approves it's not here. He's not going to be here till next week. So we just went off campus and then flew the drone onto campus, and we still got the survey, and we can pull that up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all hindsight 2020. Hindsight's 2020. And you can armchair quarterback anything that you want. You can be the victim. You can get upset. You can do it's choose your own adventure. Florida truckers raging because I cut them off. Don't come in with life stories. Ask questions. Phrase everything like you're on Jeopardy. Everything's in the form of a question. That's the way I take phone calls. And I mean, that's just the way it is. You're not going to make everybody happy. Your channel, you're trying to give some level of common sense to something that has turned into, this has got to be the biggest conspiracy since 9/11. I'm assuming
it's out of control, man. It really is.
It is out of control. I mean, I don't know. And more people care about this than they do what happened in Butler. Somebody had a comment in the chat. Why was Thomas Crook's apartment medically scrubbed? I don't know.
And I would like answers to that question just like you, because that is the reporting, and it is weird, but that was also under the Biden administration. And I think that whatever evidence that did exist, and I think there was, like, that's the other thing too. I'm just telling you folks, like, this stuff, let's say that the Biden administration, the deep state of the Biden administration, there were some elements of, I don't know, CIA, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had this black operation where they decided they were going to hire Thomas Crooks, and they were going to restrict security to Trump, and they were all
Let me grab this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Line 1, go right ahead. What do you got?
Yes, I'd like to ask about Yes, sir. I'd like to ask about, did y'all hear about the guy in all black tactical gear, the 911 calls?
Yeah.
All black tactical gear, 911 calls. I don't know about that, but maybe Gary will, and we'll get his response. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
My name is Michael Ballantyne, calling from Washington, North Carolina.
Thank you for calling, Michael. I really appreciate you tuning in. We'll get Gary to respond here on the other side of your call. Thank you for calling. Thank you for watching. God bless you.
Yep.
Black tactical gear. I never heard of that one.
Yep. So I will pull that up right here. Every time I go looking for one and trying to find it, and then because I'm in the wrong. There we go. Hold on. I will tell you exactly what he's talking about.
Okay. I'll read some of these comments. Somebody said that I don't take much credit in the ATF. I bought a gun today, and it was pretty easy when you have like a concealed carry permit. So I think they're doing their job. I'm not a big fan of. I mean, I think everybody should be able to own a Harrier jet like the old Pepsi giveaway during the 90s.
I agree.
Let's see here. I was shooting pennies off of a fence post at 6 years old. Great job. Good. I wouldn't post that online. Let's see here. You're probably on the list now. Charlie's on cam viewing the drone footage of campus prior to his arrival. Okay, great. I'm sure he probably wanted to get a layout. Yeah.
That's correct. I'll talk about that if you'd like.
Yeah, go right ahead.
There was no drone footage. What that was is that is a picture of the crowd, and it's clearly a fisheye picture. and it's above the campus before they got there. And that was actually posted to Charlie Kirk's, and I suspect it was Mikey McCoy that posted that picture to Charlie Kirk's Instagram. And then Frank Turek and Charlie Kirk looked at that picture. I'll try to pull that up too.
You think he'd already be in place?
So
You would think
let's see here. How do I?
And that
do
picture is taken from the second floor. So it looks like it's above, but you can tell that like it's not so far above that it, you know.
So there's somebody on the roof right there?
This is it here?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that him there on the?
That is Tyler Robinson, allegedly.
Okay. Let's see here.
And I want everybody to notice how far away this is, and I'll show you how the actual distance of this, because it's ridiculously far. But go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place? You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying. He just ran from over, where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in. And now he's right there. Just saying.
All right.
Okay.
So he saw this guy from approximately, I don't know, that's well over 100 yards. We can pull it up on the 3D model. We can pull it up on Google Earth. It's a far away. And he just saw a guy in black. And then just like we see with witness testimony all the time, it's wrong all the time. The assumption that he added to this was that it was a black tactical gear. We know that's incorrect because we see this figure running off the roof and clearly not black tactical gear. Like we can't determine if it's Tyler Robinson or not, but we know that it's not someone in black tactical gear.
Okay. Does
that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely get it. Yeah. There's so much stuff that we don't know, but I can't get over the entitled mentality of people that demand that we're given everything. Let's talk about Iran. It's like Iran. There are people that are demanding that Trump go on to public TV and tell everyone where he's going to send his troops. Yeah. And I'm like, I come from the silent service. Are you freaking retarded? Are you that retarded? You deployed multiple times. Yeah. Y'all didn't tell anybody where you went, where you were going, who was in charge. And it's the same thing. And I believe that you could make the connection that this prosecution is trying to keep as much as they can to themselves, but they probably watch Candace Owens every day and they're like, oh, check this shit out. I know that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
I know that they're saying the age-old redneck phrase, hey man, check this shit out, because I do it. I know that's what they're doing. And it's crazy. Yeah. What are your thoughts with some of the how do you think this is going to play out with court? How do you think this is going to play out? Because I believe the people that are putting out the misinformation are doing the defense attorney's work for them, is what I think.
Yeah, so I'll give everybody a little bit of hope on that, or a little bit. So I felt the same way, and I was talking to Andrea, the criminal defense attorney. The problem is that everybody that's paying attention to this is all up in the Kool-Aid, right? Like we are saturated by this. I look at this stuff every day. You probably look at it quite a bit. People that are paying attention online are all over it. And I was like, Andrea, they're going to prejudice the jury. And she's like, Gary, every high profile case, they worry about that. You'll be surprised at like the fact that probably 70% of Americans aren't paying attention to this at all.
Correct.
And know very little about it. Mm-hmm. But the fact is they're going to be able to find, she said, that they're going to easily be able to find people. They're going to have a very strict screening process on both sides. Like the prosecutors get to screen the jurors, the defense attorneys get to screen the jurors. They're going to have a process, and they're going to find a 12 people that they're going to be able to present to it. And there's reasonable, it's reasonable to believe that they're going to be unprejudiced, right? Now, what I'm afraid of on this is that we see the candy cult so radical about this. I am concerned that there's going to be people in there that do want to intentionally get Tyler Robinson off, because there's a lot of people out there that do want
I agree.
to. And I am concerned that somebody's going to try to get through that screening process just so they can vote not guilty and, hang the jury. Earlier, Ben, we were talking about the hatches, the tunnels, whatever you want to call them. I got a video there.
This one?
Oh, yeah, that one's, so that's the picture. All right. So
okay.
People wanted,
Let me go back. Let's go here.
all right. So we have those pictures right there. And those are the utility hatches to the water feature. One of those actually fills the water fountains, and then the other one controls the waterfall. While I was there, the waterfall feature was on, and it goes all the way around the back side of this. It's very large. So that's what that is. Now, there was all these people saying that these were underneath the tent and underneath Charlie, and like somebody was popping up. Now, I'll pull up another picture if you'd like, but there was a camera tripod stacked on this one. And you got to understand right here where this white off to the right there, that little white piece of paper, whatever that is, it's actually one of the speaker systems. There were people right there. This was filled in with people. So they were 6 feet from these hatches, and that was seen by everyone. So there was never a chance that somebody, this midget little Israeli assassin jumped up out of this hatch and shot Charlie Kirk, which was what was one of the things being proposed. And if you look at down, I got a video of that exact hatch if you want to play that. After they actually covered that with pavers. Look at this paved area.
Let's see here.
And folks, I can already tell, like, the distances in the camera they look so much further than the actual distances, whether you see it on TV, you see it in other video footage, and even on this camera right here. So, to give you an idea, these pots right here, that is probably 8 feet. That first pot right there is about 8 feet from me. This is definitely one of the things that I noticed in Butler too. Even though I looked at all the footage from Butler, I knew the distances by heart. I looked at everything, on Google Earth. But when you get there, everything's just so much closer than what it looks like and what you have a picture in your mind of. Yeah,
gotcha.
To give everybody a reference, like that entire, you guys can see how the stadium seating that you have there, the very back one of that, like the furthest point from where Charlie was to the back of the depressed area, that is like the size of a baseball field. It is so much closer than it looks through video, and it's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. I am not going to say that I knew as much as I did prior to this tonight, because I feel like I've learned a lot. I feel like I've put there's a lot of misinformation. I feel like it didn't go together, but the way that you've explained it, some of the footage that you've put together and actually going there has put a lot of things together. I didn't know about these frangible rounds, but the first thing I saw whenever I saw this Daily Mail thing, I was like, here we go. Everybody's a ballistics expert. That's what I thought. I was like, here we go. Everybody's a ballistics expert. And obviously 30-06 is the most common round that the Mossad uses on Egyptian planes. And I'm like, oh God, how do we back away from this enough for the damn prosecution to do? I think their job is I wouldn't want to be a part of that. I would not want to be a part of that. The prosecution.
Well, let me throw at you the most ridiculous concept in all of this. Everyone
I love ridiculous. I like ridiculous.
Everyone wants to say that this was some big grand conspiracy, whether it was the Jews, whether it was the French, the U.S. military, or whatever. Let's say it was the French and the U.S. military and Israel. So what you're
Ooh, I like it.
proposing here is the 3 most sophisticated militaries on the face of the planet. They put together this entire elaborate, extremely sophisticated conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. And then they wanted a patsy, because you got to have a patsy.
Yep.
And they planned this thing with such precision that they pulled it off successfully. They got their target. We have no evidence that one from the French Foreign Legion, like they got away with this cleanly. But the one thing that they screwed up, Ben, was they gave the patsy the wrong caliber.
Damn it.
They actually shot him with 223 or 17 HMR or whatever. They're like, hey, Tom, we got away free, man. Great job. High five. We got Charlie. This was a success. What was the gun that you gave the patsy? 30-06. Like, dude, you screwed up, man. I shot him with a 223. And now they're going to know. Like, the whole thing is like, you don't think. I mean, that to me is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, and them saying like it's impossible always didn't make sense. It is atypical. I'll be the first one to say that, but it's far from impossible.
Why didn't anybody go with this one? Day of the Jackal. It was a great movie, 1973, with the ice bullet. Why didn't anybody go with the ice bullet? Right?
It is a great question. I don't know what to tell you on that one. I think they should.
When I plan mine, I'm doing the ice bullet. Right?
I would definitely do the ice bullet.
I know you've heard some. I see some of the trolls have followed you into the chat. I have trolls everywhere. I think they're super fans. They watch when no one else does. I think unless you have trolls, you have not made it. Yeah. And I love the trolls because they really, truly make my day feel. I feel smarter anytime I read some of the troll comments. It's amazing. It really. And what time is your show? You said you're doing an interview tomorrow with the Seed Man, and then you've got another Green Beret on there, Nate Valhalla. Yep. What are your? I don't know.
We're going on at 3 p.m. That might mean that our segment's at 3:30. Who knows? But around 3. So just watch Alex Jones tomorrow, starting around 3 p.m. Eastern time. And if you want to watch that, I guess we're going to have a debate. That's what I'm sure they're setting this up for.
Well, you're a sniper. I think Nate was like a radio guy, right?
That's right. Yeah, and look, not just like, I'll tell you, 90% of what I've learned, I was always a long range nerd, even as a sniper. Like I studied the craft in just long range ballistics more than most snipers. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, like 80% of what I know now, I learned after I got out of the military. And I've been to civilian schools, I've been to multiple military schools. I've just been a student of ballistics. I've read through all of Litz's library of applied ballistics. We teach this on a daily basis. I reload, I shoot long range. We teach long range, long range is what I do. And then on top of that, I've done a lot of terminal ballistics testing. We test armor really even before my YouTube channel. Before my YouTube channel, I was testing gear and things like that. Anything that we carried in our shop, I wanted to make sure it was tested. I believed in it before I carried it. And then I got convinced, like, dude, you should start doing this on YouTube. So, that's what we've done. We've done a lot of ballistic testing. We've done a lot of terminal ballistics. And the other thing I'll say, I don't care what kind of long range shooter that you are, an expert, a ballistic expert. The one area of ballistics that is not that well researched is terminal ballistics. Like, I also was like, man, I have a hard time believing that a 30-06 didn't penetrate. And we also need to understand the angle, and there's some other things going on there. I never thought it was impossible. I thought it was more atypical than I realized. It's less atypical than after I've done research. So one of the first things, like within the first week, somebody told me, well, have you looked at Martin Luther King? Martin Luther King was shot from 65 yards away, and I had never looked at that. The terminal ballistic, he was shot with a 30-06, and there's a lot of controversy around Martin Luther King's assassination, obviously. No one contests that he was shot with a 30-06. So he was shot with a 30-06, approximately 65 yards away, which is half the distance that Tyler Robinson was shot with. It hit him in the jaw. It hit his spine. I want everybody to pay attention to this. It hit his spine, deflected downwards. Outside of hitting him in the face first, the terminal ballistic and the wound pattern and what the terminal ballistic results that we see with Charlie Kirk are identical. And then there's a lot, then I started looking at other pathology reports regarding 30-06. Like, it is a lot more common than you think to have these results. Just like I talked about Chuck Ritter, shot with 7.62 by 54, 25 yards away, hit him in the spine. And I do think there's something unique about what happens with energy dispersion in the body when it hits the spine. You have this non-rigid vertebrae that is attached with a lot of shock absorbing material that is also attached to all the muscles internally and externally. And I think it does a much better job at, if you think of the difference, you can take a 1/4 inch of steel and shoot 9mm through it. You take a 1/4 inch of soft, flexible Kevlar and it won't penetrate it because it absorbs the energy as opposed to something rigid and hard. And that's the other thing too. Like, all these people doing these backyard bullshit ballistic tests, like, you're not even coming close to replicating what's actually happening.
That's true. That's true. And I think, I don't care, hopefully, wherever you're at on the side of the aisle, I think I just want justice for Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk's memory and Charlie Kirk's children and Charlie Kirk's wife, Charlie Kirk's family. I met him a couple of times whenever I was working in DC, just a nice nerdy kid with a bunch of zits on his face. And that's what he came across. And I think he was just too dangerous to the establishment, to the left, to the indoctrination camps that charge $125,000 for a degree in feminine dance therapy. And I just think it's disgusting. And the one thing I learned tonight is now I can use my Rode wireless microphone without fear. I can use it again. I am, Gary, how can people find you? I'm going to pull up your YouTube channel here. How can they find you on your various platforms? Because your YouTube, your Paramount Tactical. Let me pull this up. And your live streams are amazing because you get the real trolls. I mean, I thought I had some good ones, but man, I mean, you get some good ones. I'm kind of jealous because I feel like the trolls I have are usually like clothed, but I think your trolls are not wearing anything except an adult diaper in the basement. I think you have reached the pinnacle of trollness whenever they're just in adult diapers, right? I mean, that's it.
They are unique, to say the least.
Have you ever ran into any trolls in person? Because I've ran into one and I think it's amazing.
No, I did, but I didn't realize it till later on. So I actually went to a restaurant with my son, and I walked in and I looked over and I saw this guy looking at me, but looking at me weird. And then he kind of like looked away real quick. Like, he's like almost like guilty or suspicious. Like, that like, oh.
Yeah.
Anyways. And then I went and sat down, we had dinner, and I left. And then that evening I saw a comment and said, I didn't realize Gary lived in West Virginia. He just looked like a liar or something. Like, I don't know what he said. Something along like, why didn't you have the guts to come talk to me? Like,
they never do. They never do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I ran into one of my trolls. Every Wednesday, I go to Sam's Club and I use a lot of the money from super chats and memberships. I've got 9 veterans that have service dogs. And I go there on Wednesday and I buy dog food and I take it to them, right? And I've said that multiple times on my channel. And I go to Sam's Club and there's this dude and he looks like your typical World of Warcraft player hopped up on, I don't know, Monster Energy drinks and vapes. And he's in the dog food aisle and he's just kind of like lurking. And I've got one of those big like push like it's like not a buggy, it's like a platform. And I go over and I'm loading like I find the cheapest dog food I can, except for this one guy. And I'm walking by and he looks over, he's like, "So you do buy dog food?" And I look at him, I was like, "Yeah, I also sit down to shit, but thank you for coming and verifying what I do." It's amazing. I mean, I get crapped on. I started mailing out Bibles. I got an abundance of veteran Bibles donated to me, and I've been sending them out to veterans and members of my channel. And I get people crapping on me for that. They're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I'm mailing Bibles, man. Like, what? How it's just amazing the level of trolls. And I know with the passion, I think there's a thin line between passion and stupidity when it comes down to the Cantifa crowd, and you've probably experienced it more than most, you know.
Yeah. Before we go, I just put up a video. I think it's worth playing. It shows a couple things. Number one, it shows the dishonesty of Candace Owens. And then it also shows people how easy it is to get on the roof. And I'm sure most people.
Spider-Man short. Is that what this is?
That's it.
Oh, it's the lone shooter who had never been on campus, who climbed the roofs like Spider-Man. Tyler Robinson scaled the rooftops like Spider-Man.
Well, here's footage from when I went to UVU. Let me show you exactly how much of a Spider-Man you have to be to get on this roof. It's insane. All right, folks, so here's the stairs that go to the roof. Wow. This wall is about maybe 3 feet tall. All right, so right there is the shooting position. It's about 200 feet away from there. You don't need to be Spider-Man. As a matter of fact, you don't even need arms. You can literally get up there if you didn't have arms. So for her to say that you need to be Spider-Man and convince her, because there's a lot of people that still don't know this, and many of you watching this maybe didn't know this is how easy it was to get to the shooting location.
Lies by severe omission, I'd like to be very clear, are lies. Tyler Robinson scaled the rooftops like Spider-Man. Lies by severe omission are lies. No,
Well,
it's the lone shooter.
Gary, you're freaking Peter Parker, dude.
I know.
Like,
did you see how fast I scaled it like Spider-Man?
I was waiting for like the jump or the grab or the swing or the web. So you just walked up the stairs and there was a fence that was put up there, obviously after the fact, or you could have just hopped over and walked over and laid down.
Yeah, so
that
walkway up to the rail is a common walkway. That's a walkway that everyone walks on that goes in between buildings. So
somebody in the chat, Spider-Man just took the stairs. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But that just tells you if you make something salacious enough.
Yeah.
This is P.T. Barnum, bearded
really
lady. This is P.T. Barnum. The greatest like fraud ever alive was P.T. Barnum up until now. And she might have taken that title from him. I don't know. Wow.
There's definitely a sucker born every minute. And she proves it every single time.
Gary, a quote that I hear, I love, it was a Mark Twain quote. It's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled. And that goes to COVID. That goes to this. That goes to Biden getting 81 million votes. That goes to the Jews running the world. I mean, it goes to Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, whatever you want to call him. He nailed it. And it's not going away. Well, Gary, I appreciate having taken time. Peter Parker, I know you're probably out saving lives. Stan Lee was a Navy veteran. Just he created all that. So there you go. Gary, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to watch you on Alex Jones. Tell the Seed Man I said hello. Tell him I said hello.
He's now the Methylene Blue Man. Not
Methylene Blue. Yeah. It's an interesting timeline for sure. Gary, we'll reconnect. You're welcome back anytime. And thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service. And it pains me to say this, but I'll say go Army, beat Navy, even though I'm a Navy vet. So Gary, thank you so much. God bless. Gary, quick thing, just to let you know, here in Arkansas, next month, the organization I work for, we're opening the first subsidized veteran housing here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Houses 65 veterans. It's subsidized, right in the center of the universe, or right in the center of Fayetteville, Arkansas. And open invitation if you want to come. I've got some other Dakota Meyer will probably be here. I think Rob O'Neill's coming. I've got a handful of other guys that are coming, and you're more than welcome. But thank you for what you do, and thank you for your time.
Some dates, and I'll if I can make it and make it work, I'd love to. That sounds great, and I appreciate your service. Appreciate you having me on. The same goes back at you. Anytime you want to come on my show, you're more than welcome to. If there's anything I can do to help you, anything I do to promote something like that, make sure you send it my way, and we'll do everything we can on our end. So thanks for having me, buddy.
My audience knows, but Gary, your audience, if there's any veterans in your audience that need any help with VA stuff, my full-time job, I am a veteran service officer. And I've helped hundreds of veterans through my YouTube channel with their VA disability and stuff. So they're not getting grilled over the coals by these claim sharks and all this other crap. Gary, you take care. Tip my hat to you. God bless you. You take care. Have a good night, brother.
Thanks, bud. You too. We'll talk to you later.
All right.